Welcome everyone to Fibromyalgia Talks. Today's show, we're going to be discussing and learning about intermittent fasting. And I have an awesome guest today. Her name is Mikel Carmon, certified EALI medicine practitioner, wellness consultant, psychotherapist, equine assisted learning professional, and author of CreateEnergy. I'm so glad she's here. We've connected once before, way back around 2015. And then right after that time period, she and we worked together on a summit that I did for, I believe it was for during the holidays, about healthy living for those with chronic pain. And she's back today talking about and educating us on intermittent fasting. Mikel, I'm so glad that you are here today, my friend. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Glad to connect again, Necie. So good to see you.
Yes, it's always a pleasure when we connect because we have so much fun. So today we're talking about intermittent fasting. And Mikel, I've heard so much about it, but I'm just going to be very transparent. For me, myself, I have not practiced it because, I'm type 2 diabetic. I've heard a lot of things that, it's good. It's not good for diabetics, but I have since learned from checking out some of the video links that you shared with me that it is a great alternative for a healthy eating for diabetics. And my question for you, my friend, is I'm curious. Number one, I have a couple questions for you, actually several. Number one, for those that's not all that familiar with it, what exactly is intermittent fasting and why did you decide to go down that road? What caused you to change your way of eating? So in other words, how did you get introduced to this? Because I'm so fascinated to learn more because I've seen a lot of people talk about it, but I've never had the opportunity to discuss it with someone that I know.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that great question. And you and I have known each other since 2015, and I've always been very, very healthy. I thought. What I know now, after on August 23rd of this month, I will have been in an intermittent fasting for 60 days. And it's totally changed my life. I go back and I say the number one really wise thing I did was study with Donna Eden and become an EALI practitioner. I would have to say the second thing that I've done is really gone down that rabbit hole with people like Dr. Sten Ekberg, Dr. Eric Berg, Dr. David Perlmutter on intermittent fasting. What the short cliff notes are: intermittent fasting is not a diet. It is simply a window of eating and a window of not eating so our body can repair itself. And the other thing intermittent fasting does is it really educates the person on how do we keep our blood sugar low. And so for type 2 diabetics, this is extremely important because we're not managing symptoms, we're alleviating them. We're reversing type 2 diabetes. The good doctors will never tell you that because they're too busy writing out prescriptions that are indeed toxic. And so we have these side effects with all these other things. So the cliff notes are, it's a window of eating. And the thing I love about it, Necie, is so flexible because we all have different lifestyles.
Yes.
We all have different schedules. And so you can flip it back and forth on what your schedule is. And so it's very, very simple. There's not these hard and fast rules that you have to follow. I mean, and that's why I love it. You know me, I'm a person of, I like simple. If it's not simple, I'm not there. It's got to make sense.
Now, Mikel, I hear everything you said. And when you were mentioning about the doctors, and I think you will agree with me with this, I think it's because in medical school, that's what they're taught. You know, they have all these pharmaceutical reps and other people coming in and stating, this is the recommended suggested treatment plan, you know, for XYZ condition. And I remember once I was seeing this endocrinologist. I'm no longer her patient, but we had a difference of opinion regarding my treatment plan. And I said to her, my goal is to get off medication. My goal is to be medication free from diabetes. And how I plan to accomplish that is healthy eating, healthy living, walking. You know, I love walking. And she looked at me and she said, Michael, it doesn't work that way. And I'm like, what do you mean? She says, you will never be able to get off of it. That's just the way it's worked. It's for life. And I said, I disagree with that. I says, I know people who have gone off medication, not abruptly, but they've been under physician's care where their health has improved, whether it's the diet, they lost weight, or something changed where they didn't need to be on these meds anymore because it was under control. And she totally disagreed with me. And I said to myself, okay, I can't treat with her anymore because she's not speaking life to me. She's speaking death.
That's exactly right. You bring up a great point, that we really do not in this country have a healthcare system. We call it healthcare, but that's a lie. Let's call it what it is. It's a lie. We have a sick care system and we have a disease management system. I was just rereading the side effects on these type 2 diabetes prescriptions that will not heal type 2 diabetes at all. And the side effects can include death, and there are links to Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and cancer. That's what you get for taking the type 2 diabetes medication. Okay, do we really call that a medicine, or do we call it a poison or a toxin? And so when we're putting more, think of it this way. We've got a big pond, and the fish and the plants used to be so healthy in this pond. It was pristine, Necie. It was sparkling. We could go down there with our chairs and have a nice glass of beautiful water or a glass of wine and look at our fish in this beautiful pond. And then all of a sudden, the chemicals from our lawn started leaching into the pond. And then somebody came and sprayed some more chemicals in. And then, oopsie, there was a spill and it leached in from the neighbors who uses a lot of Roundup, and our fish started dying. The algae started filling up, and now our beautiful pristine pond is a sludge pool. Now, how do we clean that up? Do we dump more stuff in like we do the body? Or, back to intermittent fasting, do we take things out of the body or the pool to clean it up? Which is the answer?
Right.
It's that simple. So intermittent fasting is simply a strategy of window eating and the foods that you eat during that time. So intermittent fasting is perfect for a type 2 diabetic because it's about insulin resistance. Every time we eat, our insulin shoots up. I got to think, okay, if I don't eat or fast, what happens? My insulin resistance goes down. That's a fact.
True.
So that's thousands and thousands and thousands of people are reversing type 2 diabetes with an eating window. And let me tell you something. I'm now this has been over 2 months. You ask why I started this. I built a Cobb straw bale cottage here a month ago, and it was extremely physically demanding. At that time, I was averaging 50 to 60 miles a week up in the mountains of the Bighorns. I live out of Buffalo, Wyoming, so I have this beautiful playground with all these trails. I pulled my psoas muscle and then I kept re-injuring it and I could not get it to heal. I got to the point, Necie, that I literally could not walk. I went down to 3 miles a week and pain. Here's the cliff notes on what's happened during intermittent fasting. We're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, but one of the benefits of intermittent fasting is we go into ketosis, but we also go into what is called autophagy. And Dr. Eric Berg and Dr. Sten Ekberg go into great detail, very simply, about what autophagy is. Here's what autophagy literally means: self-eating. So it's like this recycling process. When we give our bodies a chance to rest, the little workers, the thousands and thousands and millions of them, go to work cleaning up and excreting the old cells that no longer want to be there, that don't need to be there. And so people literally are healing cancer because guess what? The autophagy creates self-eating cells of the cancer cells, and they go back to the good doctors and go, your cancer's gone. What have you been doing? Intermittent fasting. Thanks so much. How come you didn't tell me about this? You just wanted to do surgery and drugs and chemotherapy and you were killing me. I'm out of here. That is exciting. That is so exciting. So we have people with fibromyalgia, MS, cancer, heart disease, diabetes, healing that costs them nothing with beautiful food and never hungry. Now that's the other side effect. You're not hungry.
Yeah, it sounds like conscious eating. Now, I do want to add a disclaimer here for anyone watching the show, and that is Michael did list the side effects of the medications, but we're not saying to anybody, just stop taking your medication, because that is a decision and discussion you have to have with your physician, the
Absolutely.
person overseeing your healthcare. What we're speaking of is alternatives to healthy eating. You know, we want to eat right, we want to live right, right? So there are ways to accomplish that, and intermittent fasting is one of them. So I just want to be really clear for that for anybody who's watching. Don't just say, hey, Michael and Necie say I don't have to take this anymore, I'm gonna just stop taking it. No, that's not what we're saying. She's educating you on intermittent fasting. So
here's what I would say very quickly, because I have these clients come in all the time into my office, and they've been on these drugs for years. And I've had families that the drugs have literally killed their fathers, their mothers, their aunts, their uncles. So by the time they get to me, they're really sick and tired of being sick and tired. They've spent thousands of dollars to sometimes be killed. Okay. What I would say to people on medication, you're exactly right. Find a healthcare professional, not a sick care professional. There's a big difference. My healthcare professional is on YouTube, and his name's Sten Ekberg. My healthcare professional is on YouTube, and his name is Dr. Eric Berg. My healthcare professional is in the library, and his name is Dr. Bruce Lipton. And my healthcare professional is in the library, and his name is David Perlmutter, who wrote the iconic best-selling book, Grain Brain, of how sugar and grains are killing us, creating disease, including diabetes, heart disease, cancer, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's. Can we reverse this? Absolutely.
Yes. I follow.
We know now, 28 years before we ever have Alzheimer's symptoms, that that person is at risk for Alzheimer's simply because of what they eat and when they eat it.
Thank you.
So you make a great point, Necie. You have fired, rightly so. You go into the good doctor's office and they just totally discount anything that you've had to say.
I shared my story with you, how when I found out that I was type 2 diabetic, I was on the road going to a pain management clinic. And this was at the beginning of my, when I found out there was something wrong with me, then I found out that I had fibro, long story short. So this one day I'm on the highway, actually the toll road, and I started feeling dizzy. I was really, really tired. I was fatigued. Now my mother, because diabetes runs in my family, and my mother, when she developed diabetes, she was in her 30s. So at this point I was in my 50s. So this was like over 20 years after my mother, right? Her diagnosis. And I remember going to the pain management, it was really called the pain management boot camp. And I said, hey, I'm just really exhausted. I'm tired. They accused me of not wanting to participate in the treatment. And I'm like, no, that's not it. I'm in tune with my body. There's something going on with me. And they did not listen. And then finally, when I kept insisting that they check me for diabetes, I found out that I was diabetic. But back then, Michael, the conversation that we're having now about intermittent fasting, I wasn't on any meds at that time. They just had me with these protein shakes. They had turmeric in it. Later, when I found a new doctor, who's a primary care doctor, very nice guy, but he didn't get into intermittent fasting and any of those things. And I think that's because as hard as he tried to help me, those were not the tools that he possessed. You know what I mean? I think that, well, basically it wasn't his level of expertise. Even when I went to go see an endocrinologist who was supposed to be top in his field in the state of Illinois, he didn't even discuss intermittent fasting. All he said was, as we're discussing now, take these drugs, do this, do that. One of the drugs he gave me, Michael, was metformin. And for me, my gut, it just made me sick. And we kept going round and round and round on medications. And as you know, and I've shared this with you, I'm sensitive to a lot of medications. Now, for some people, yeah, it may help them, it may do wonders, but there are some of us who have sensitivities, certain things we have to be mindful of, that this is not a one drug fits all. Somebody else may take this and it may work wonders. Somebody else may take it and it may not work wonders. That's just, I view it as, I may be wired differently than the next person and vice versa. It's not a one cure that fits all.
Well, you can simply Google. I invite your listeners to Google. My work is about empowering people. We all have computers or smartphones and libraries, and we can figure out very quickly in a nanosecond what are the side effects of metformin. And there was a recall in 2020 by the FDA that said there was an acceptable level of probable carcinogens, which create cancer. So let me think about it. Your good doctor is giving you metformin, which we have found creates cancer. So there is not a human body, and you can quote me on this, I'll stand by it. There is not a pharmaceutical out there that is not toxic. We know this. All of these drugs, not one of them will cure diabetes. However, food will. Right. And letting your body, remember years ago when we did an interview, I believe it was the Wellness Summit, and we talked about we are hardwired for wellness.
Yes, we did.
Okay, I'm here to tell you, I'm almost 60 days into intermittent fasting. I've always been really up and energetic and full of life. Well, now since I've been doing intermittent fasting, I'll be 71 in November. Wow. I feel better now than when I was 30, 40, 50, 60. Why is that? Because I've gotten out of the way. I'm not eating in the morning. I'm letting my body, my last meal go. We're already doing fasting. Think about this. Here's the sheer nuts and bolts. My last meal was at 5. So then I don't eat. I go to bed at 5 o'clock in the morning. I've already fasted for 12 hours.
Mhm.
I skip breakfast. Let's say I started really slowly. So then at 9 o'clock, I was going to start the 16-8. That means I fast 16 hours and I have an eating window of 8. Well, I got to 9 o'clock in the morning, Necie, and I said, you know what, Michael, I'm not even hungry. I think I'll have a glass of water with a little apple cider vinegar and a little lime juice. So then I pushed it to 10 o'clock. Then I asked myself, Michael, are you really hungry? No. So now I fasted 17 hours, and then I would have an eating window from 11 to 5. And then I just kept pushing it, asking myself, do I really need? And we're all different. You got to do what works for you.
Right.
So I pushed it and pushed it and pushed it. Now I'm on what they call OMAD, 1 meal a day. Last night I had pizza with cauliflower crust, a big salad, a beautiful peach smoothie with kefir, full of sunflower seeds, strawberries and blueberries. I was stuffed, and now I won't eat again until 4 or 5 o'clock this evening. But I'm not hungry.
Can we talk again for a minute about the window? Because you said something that was key. So it's just, to me, it's like when you wake up in the morning and they said breakfast, you breaking that fast. So what, if you don't mind me asking, and I know it may vary for different people, what time usually is your first meal? So about
5
how many
o'clock.
a day do you have?
5 o'clock. Here's the deal. Now, for new beginners, don't do this. For beginners, go very slowly. And Dr. Berg and Dr. Ekberg will both say this, because your body, we go to bed, and then the first thing we do in the morning is have some oatmeal or some cold cereal or a piece of toast, and that breaks the fast. Just when your body's getting ready to do its work, we slam more sugar and carbs in there, and our insulin goes up.
Yes.
Versus, so when I get up in the morning, I have a cup of black coffee. I put some a little cinnamon in there, and I put some a teaspoon of coconut oil. They call it bulletproof coffee. I have 2 cups of those. Okay, I've already had my coffee. Now I'm drinking sparkling water with a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar and a half a lime or lemon. I prefer lime juice. So I'll sip on this. After we get through with this, I'm going to go hike. I have some appointments in town, but I won't eat again until 4 or 5 o'clock.
Okay. And what might you eat then?
Then what I'm going to eat is leftover pizza, cauliflower. I will have no carbs and no sugar at all, because that spikes insulin anytime we eat. So if I have a carrot stick at 11, I'm going to spike my insulin. So why would I do that to my body? I'm going to fast, let my body go into ketosis and also autophagy, where I'm burning the fat that I have stored.
So as I understand, for me as a type 2 diabetic, my body produces insulin, but it's not being properly dispersed into the cells. I view it as I'm making all this insulin and it's hit like a wall, and it's not going anywhere,
Right.
and it's got to go. But since it's not, I'm on these medications to properly manage that, right? Whereas I think with people that are type 1, there's definitely a problem, we know, with their pancreas. And so they give them insulin, whereas I'm the opposite. I have all this insulin, but it's not going out, and so
Right.
I have noticed when you mention oatmeal, for example, I can't tell you how many times they tell you, oh, eat oatmeal in the morning. Oatmeal is also good, they say, for cholesterol and all that. Yeah, I know it will drop cholesterol, but here's the thing my body has told me about oatmeal and other things. You can give me oatmeal, I don't care if it's a half a cup or whatever it is, my glucose, it spikes. So I said, okay.
That's exactly right. So I'm going
Right.
to get you go to, this book was written in 2012 by David Perlmutter called Grain Brain. What
Yep.
we know now, what is creating diabetes and so many things is carbs, carbohydrates, high carbohydrates, low fat, and high sugar. What do Americans eat?
All that.
What, I mean, you have to ask yourself, okay, we are the most diseased country in the planet.
With all this money, billions of dollars for healthcare, you know.
But it's not healthcare, it's sick care.
Sick care, yes. But you know, my point is we got all this money, right, that we invest into the system, but it's not helping us. Now, question for you, because I've been very curious about this. I love to bake, and so I have an autoimmune condition, so I've been really hyper focused on baking healthy ingredients and whatnot. And I've noticed that with like the grain, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think one of the biggest problems we're having with the carbs, with the grain, is because they took out what was healthy in that. You know, they genetically modifying a lot of this. And then a lot of stuff is they're taking out the germ or whatever, however you want to phrase it, taking out what is healthy and leaving what is unhealthy. And so when we eat that, there is really no benefit for us. And I met someone who shared with me, are you familiar with Eichhorn flour? I think it's a European flour. Anyway, I have to do more research on it, but they were saying how some grains are better than others. But I think in this country, that the traditional grains, think about when you go to a grocery store, you see on the shelf all the different flours, all the different grains, white flour and all this, and you know that stuff is not healthy. But Michael, no one really talks to us about, hey, do this, avoid that. You know, I think that there is a design system in place to sell all this because it's, you know, makes a lot of money and it's making us sick. And in turn, I eat that, going right back to the doctor. Doctors making more money. Pharmacies are making more money. Pharmaceutical companies are making more money because Niecy's then getting sicker, or whoever's eating all that is getting sicker. That's why I was happy today to talk to you about this intermittent fasting. But I still want to ask you, that I'm trying to understand is, but what made you make that change?
Here's the deal. I could not heal my left leg. I couldn't, that muscle just was not healing. No matter what I did, yoga, whatever I did, it was getting worse. I couldn't walk. I'm going from 60 miles a week to I couldn't walk.
Right. I heard
so
that.
Somebody said to me that I really respected, check out intermittent fasting, and they told me about autophagy. So I started doing it. Guess what? My muscle starts getting better and better because my body, oh, okay, I already knew this. I'm hardwired for wellness. Right. Now I'm not stuffing myself. I used to have a smoothie around 10 o'clock in the morning, but so I would break my fast. Just when my body was getting ready to repair itself, I would throw in or instant oatmeal or a banana, which is very high in sugar. I mean, yes. And I want to go back to grains. You're exactly right. These grains are not the grains of 2 million years ago, where our ancestors are eating berries,
right,
seasonally, and a few grains. So what we know now about grains, carbs, and sugar, they're killing us. Mm-hmm. We take out the grains and sugar, and we have this remission of these symptoms like inflammation. What are we all dying of? Inflammation. So you take out the carbs. So what we're talking about is a keto diet. So when I go in, okay, I love tortillas, but I can't have flour tortillas anymore. So what do we use? Almond flour.
Right.
Coconut flour.
Yep.
They're beautiful. We're still healing.
Mm-hmm.
No carbs, no sugar. Guess what? Necie now feels great. Guess what? Michael now feels great because we've stopped poisoning ourselves.
True. When you mentioned about the inflammation, that is a slow burning flame that
you got it. That's what it means.
Yes, because with that inflammation, that is something I have dealt with for years. You know, when you go get your labs, your C-reactive protein and all these other labs, I would see that with the labs, certain levels were always high. Those, and you know, as well as the inflammation markers. And I would say to my doctor, okay, look, for the past 8 months, the inflammation markers have been high. What do we need to do? Where do we go from here? All right. So, you know, they, again, is other medications, right? To reduce all that. More medication piled on, piled on. So what I started doing was educating myself more about foods, because as you were mentioning about carbs and sugar, we know that sugar is creating a burn in the body, you know, more of this, which is unhealthy. And I said, for me, you know, I think at some point, and I can't speak for others, but you've said it here today, you got sick and tired of being sick and tired. And when you truly get sick and tired of being sick and tired, then change must occur. Because for me, when you were talking about that pain, that's how it was with me with fibro, all that pain. And pain is a sign that something in the body needs to change. And you're hardwired for wellness, which is a great thing. But many people, think about the number of people, Michael, who override all that. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm eating this. I know it makes me feel terrible. I don't care because it's so good. So to me, either you're going to eat to live or live to eat. Which one is it going to be? You know?
That's exactly right. The other very important thing, and you bring up an excellent point, we live in a culture that
Yes.
many people want a quick fix. So they're going to take that. And I hate to use the term medication because it's really poison, because it's toxic to the system. And Dr. Berg and Dr. Ekberg go in this to great detail. So we're screwing around with our liver. Our liver has over 500 jobs. Now we're taking a medication that screws up our hardworking liver, and versus supporting it. The good doctors are saying, you know what, let's just screw around with the liver. Yeah. And we pay good money for that.
Yeah.
It's not only offensive, it's abusive, and it's dishonest. Quote me on it.
And you know what else is on the rise when you said about the liver?
Yeah.
Fatty liver disease.
Exactly.
Okay? Because with a lot of the liver diseases, it's not because of you were using different drugs or intravenous drug user. It's not always because that you were an alcoholic. You know, now you're seeing a lot of fatty liver disease. I'm
so glad you brought that up. That is an excellent question, because you're exactly right, Necie. We know now that fatty liver disease affects about 90% of Americans because of what they eat. I'm not going to call it a diet,
right?
Because it's, I mean, look at the breakfast cereal aisle.
Yeah.
Look at what we're doing to our kids. You go down there on each side. When I grew up, it was cornflakes and Cheerios and shredded wheat and Raisin Bran, about 4 cereals. Now there's about 400. And they all have sugar and they all have carbohydrates, the very things that are killing us and making us diseased.
Yes. And another aspect of that is not just people who are obese that have fatty liver. You have a lot of people at a healthy weight who also have fatty liver, because they'll say, okay, choose a healthy diet, control your diabetes, exercise more, limit your correct cholesterol, protect your liver, be at a certain weight. I've met more people who've done all that. They still have fatty liver.
Right. We've got to stop talking about it was calories. It was cholesterol. We've been saying the wrong, incorrect, false mantra. What it really is, insulin. And every time we eat, it spikes. So, gee, wouldn't common sense just tell you, let me back off on the eating until my eating window, then I can eat all these beautiful foods, my insulin will go down and I'm healed.
Yeah.
Cost of the client, zero.
True. And there's non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. I mean, that is a multi-billion-dollar disease.
Exactly.
And, you know, they'll tell you there is no cure for it.
That's a lie.
Right. But that's what they will tell you, that there is no cure for it. But what angers me as a health activist is I like to do a lot of work within fibromyalgia community, chronic pain community, and outside that community. I really would like to work more on it from the aspect of, before we get there, right? These are the things we need to put into place. Now, for those of you that are there, these are some of the things that we need to change. It's kind of hard sometimes to be in this space trying to bring about change, because you got all these commercials, you go into the grocery store, you got all these cereals, you got people buying all this stuff. Look at our schools. I remember when Michelle Obama was on this healthy initiative about healthy eating in the schools. Oh my goodness, they had an absolute fit saying, don't tell my child what to eat. We've got children at school. I was reading about it on the news that in some school districts across the country, when the children were out during the summer, they were putting together boxes of food because some of the children don't have food. And that's the conversation for another day, because no one in this country should be starving of food.
That's right.
And this country should be homeless. But I will say this, okay, they're trying to do the right thing to provide food for the kids, but there is no money in the budget to cover them, to give them healthy stuff. I've been in the store, and I'm sure you may have seen this or noticed it too. Some people, when you try, I'll give you a perfect example. I'm not going to call any names. Once I was talking with a friend about healthy eating, and I was giving her some tips on some things. We were talking about more vegetables, other types of things to eat. She said, Necie, I'm going to tell you something right now. If I do what you're suggesting, my husband will divorce me. My kids will kick me out the house. What is wrong with you? I can't eat like that. They were not drinking any water. They were not eating any vegetables. It can be, okay, it can be, let's say some of these nightclubs or these places are open, let's say 2 and 3 in the morning. So people, they're dancing all night, they're partying, whatever it is that they're doing. So you're going to some of these places, some of them may be soul food places to eat or whatever, and they may be eating a pork chop sandwich at 2 or 3 in the morning. A lot of stuff. And I'm not trying to be negative about people's food choices, but the point that I'm making is that just because it's available don't mean that it's healthy for you to eat. You know, I understand that a lot of choices also are cultural, but even though a lot of choices can be cultural, we have to do better for ourselves, our loved ones, and the generations that we are leaving behind. Because if you grow up in an environment where you're always taught, okay, I've seen some people who have said that money's tight, Michael. So they'll say it is more affordable to eat at a McDonald's for them because they can go get a sausage biscuit or sausage McMuffin for a couple of bucks, right? Versus going into the grocery store and buying fresh vegetables, because the cost of food, we know, is exorbitant. So they'll say it's cheaper for me to eat this way to feed my family because this is what I can afford. If you suggest that I go buy fresh, and I'll say, you don't have to buy fresh. You can buy the frozen that's fresh picked, okay? That way you're not wasting food. You're only preparing enough that you can eat for that moment, versus you buy a lot of fresh stuff, right? And time you get it, depending upon how long it's been in the grocery store, you get it home, it can perish, you know, rather quickly. People don't want to hear that, Michael. I had initiated this program where I was feeding seniors a couple of years ago. So my organization would spend $300, about $300 a month. I was self-funding this myself. And what we would do was we would be buying fresh vegetables, beans, other things, right? put it into a box. And I was trying to partner with certain religious organizations. And I would ask them questions such as, if you have anybody diabetic, you have anyone with high cholesterol, whatever it is, let's partner together so that every month I'll be, dropping off boxes of food. But it was only geared towards seniors, low income, who needed some assistance. I had more pushback than anything. I have had people refuse the donations saying, we don't need that here. We want to be able to eat what we want to eat. And I said, this is a God-given program, a message that God has given me that I want to help seniors in need, because there have been incidents where some seniors had to choose between, do I eat or do I take my medication? Some have even been buying dog and cat food. People don't like to talk about that, but that is true.
You're exactly right.
They didn't have enough money for food. So since we're talking about food and intermittent fasting, I am concerned that we're going to be seeing greater numbers of people perishing because, number one, they don't have access to it. How do you change a mindset of many generations?
Well, here's the deal, Necie, and you've heard me say this. I always ask people, are you willing to heal?
Yes, you do. Yes.
And that's a yes, no question.
True.
My job, because a lot of people don't want to, they are addicted to suffering. They're addicted to the victim role. They're addicted to the attention. Oh my, you have blank, blank, blank. Oh my, you have blank, blank, blank. Oh my, and they love that. I'm not concerned with those folks because they're not willing to heal.
Right, that's their choice.
That's their choice. I'm willing, when my phone rings, Michael, I heard what you say, and I'm on board, and I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. Let's go.
Yes.
That's I can affect change, because they are now going, you know what? I cannot keep doing what I'm doing
right.
and expect a different result.
True.
So we gotta choose our battles. Guess what? I'm not in the mood to do any battles. I'm in the mood. My intention is to help people heal. They have it. We're hardwired for wellness. You're either on board or you're not. It's that simple.
You're right. And that tells me I need to change my thinking about this, because you cannot help anyone that is not willing to help themselves.
That's it.
I can want all the best for you, right? But if you don't want to accept it, and like you said, do you want to heal? Yes or no. Some people will say, but why?
But.
Yep.
And you know what? I won't go there.
Choices.
I've been in this business. I've had my practice. Right. I've had my practice for 30 years. Before they get to walk in my home, where my office is, I've always had a home office because it's quiet. You have to have confidentiality. It's a great healing space. It's a great, I do workshops and healing retreats here because of the space here that I've created. When they walk in the door, they've got to be ready to go to work. I'm just the catalyst for, just like Dr. Berg and Dr. Ekberg and Dr. Perlmutter and Bruce Lipton have been for me. We're all in this together.
Yes.
So why wouldn't I look at a David Perlmutter who wrote this book, Brain, in 2012? 2012, he was saying this. Carbs and sugar are killing you. Well, back in 2012, I was having my jelly donut once a week, or what, or you get
right. Yeah.
I wasn't ready for this information. When we're ready, you know the deal. You and I have talked about this. When we're ready, the teacher will appear.
Yes. When we're ready.
And then watch out, Hannah. So let me tell you something. On my personal healing quest, I was so stressed, Necie. I was in tears. It took me to my knees. Let me tell you something. Nothing brings me to my knees. I've been in the wagon train business with horses and mules out in 110 degrees. Nothing has brought me to my knees like I couldn't walk. I could not get a handle on this until it's counterintuitive. I skip breakfast, I eat in a beautiful eating window, I eat these beautiful things, and the brain fog goes by, and by the way, it heals my psoas muscle. Yeah.
Now, eating, I know you mentioned about the cauliflower, the pizza and all that. If you don't mind sharing with us, what are some other meals that you may eat? And I do appreciate when you said, for those that's new to this, such as myself, to start out slowly.
Go very slowly, and what I'm going to recommend is go and listen to Dr. Berg or Dr. Eckberg and put in Intermittent Fasting 101. And just like a really great exercise is just figure out when your last meal, say your last meal today is at 6. Then you don't snack at all. 6 o'clock in the morning, say you get up at 7. So already you fasted for 12 hours. Just go for 14 hours with not eating anything. Just that. Do that for a couple of days, and then have something, a coffee, something very, very light, tea or water, and maybe a piece of protein. Because keto, this is a keto plan, lifestyle. So I can have chicken, high fat. We want high fat. What does the brain run on? High fat, avocado, eggs, butter. When you get up in the morning, and what have the good doctors told us all these years? No eggs, no butter, no salt. It's false. What's the most important meal of the day, we've been told?
Breakfast.
Breakfast, which we break our fast just when our body's getting ready to go, oh, thank you so much for not stuffing more food in that I can't tolerate to push the insulin and the blood sugar up. We go, why don't I just rest my body? And then go to my eating window and keep my body healthy. Why don't we do that? Oh no, let's take these drugs.
I learned a lot about, like when you mentioned about the fats. I remember once I went to a Western Price Foundation meeting where they were talking about eating more of the fats, high quality oils and different things, the high quality fats. And so I met a gal that one of those CSAs for agriculture from the farms, where they would get the fresh lamb, veal, chickens, goats, fresh eggs and different things. And then when you think about that, then the country moved to all this low fat, and so anything I have found that deals with healthy eating, there's always a new spin they put on it, and then the market is then flooded with all this other stuff, because just because something says low fat don't mean it's healthy.
Right, exactly. It's the opposite. If it says low fat, run from it. Mm-hmm. So we want whole foods that are beef that's grass fed, pork, chicken, fish that's wild, green leafy vegetables. And there's tons of this stuff on YouTube of what to eat on a low carb, no sugar diet. I mean, and it's just green leafy vegetables. I will say every evening I have, or every afternoon, I'll have a big green leafy vegetable, lots of blue cheese in it, some artichoke hearts, vinegar and oil. I mean, it's huge. Kale, spinach, super greens, onions, garlic. And then, like I said, last night I had cauliflower pizza crust, and there's some great recipes on cauliflower pizza crust, which I love. So you're getting all of those good nutrition things, and eat till you're full. I mean, don't hold back on eating.
Yep. I've also been adding to my diet mushrooms.
Yes. Beautiful.
Because it's how it helps with your immune system. I even found some mycelium, some mushroom powder that I add, that I sprinkle on different things, because it's good for the gut, and also the health a leaky gut.
Exactly. So and we can heal leaky gut. The thing too is if you have a leaky gut, you have a leaky brain.
Yeah.
So what we've got to start doing is we're feeding our brain. Without our brain, we're nothing. So when we have these carbs, sugar, medications, we are poisoning not only our liver, not only our pancreas, but our brain. And then we wonder, gee, I can't concentrate.
Mm-hmm. Yes, especially in the fibromyalgia community, because fibro fog is a real big thing. And outside the fibro community, think about the number of children whom they will diagnose with ADD,
Right.
because they'll say, oh, well, they need to be on all those drugs. And oftentimes those parents that have children with autism or even ADD, they're not even talking to the families, those that I have met, about what does the family eat, the
I've had those kids in my practice over the years. We got them off the drugs. It took a while.
Mm-hmm.
We got them off sugar. We got them off carbs. We got them on some good food that's really food. It's not processed, and they thrived. Versus, you have to watch the language, how you just Google type 2 diabetes, and on every one of these sites, it'll say managing symptoms. That's all they've got. They
True.
just manage symptoms. I'm here to tell you this morning, we can reverse this. We can heal it. It's just not hearsay. It's a scientific fact.
Yes. True.
That's what I'm interested in.
Yes.
Not managing symptoms.
Yes. And another thing, many people may disagree. I'm a firm believer that with a lot of this cancer that we're seeing in the news, I really believe we can cure a lot of that. Think about the multi-trillion dollar money that had been spent, but there's no cure.
Yes.
Because to me, and I say that because think about it for a minute. If somebody came out and said, hey, we can cure breast cancer right now, right? Somebody on the other side of this is going to be losing out on money. You see where I'm going with this? Yeah. So
when we get off today, when you get off, and your listeners, just Google autophagy, AUTOPHAGY, and Dr. Sten Ekberg. And go down that rabbit hole, folks. It's up to each of us to educate and empower ourselves. Necie, you've been doing this work for years. I've been doing this work for years. Mm-hmm. Our job is to empower ourselves and then empower our clients.
Yes. And thank you for those links, because with Dr. Berg, I was watching his YouTube videos this morning. I mean, he has a great tutorial on there about intermittent fasting 101. I mean, he breaks it down in such a way that it is so easy to understand. I mean, it's not at a high level where it's designed with that you don't get it. He makes it really clear.
Don't you love it?
Yes, I love
it. And it's the thing. It's just like, oh my, this is so wonderful. And the thing is, I'm not hungry. And people that practice it, because now they're eating correctly, in a window in your body's going, oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you for resting my gut. And then when we do eat, we're filling the gut with nutrients, because we're hardwired for wellness that supports that wellness, versus now we're trying to detoxify our liver because of the drugs that have been pushed upon us. That I know this won't help you, but here, take it anyway. I got to make my Mercedes payment.
Mm-hmm. Right. When you went down that road, was it a difficult adjustment, to move towards intermittent fasting from your experience? I know everyone's different.
Because my usual thing was I would get up in the morning and then I would have a smoothie at 10 or 11. So I was already giving my gut a rest. And then with that smoothie, sometimes then I wouldn't eat till dinner. So I was already pretty darn close. Then when I got the rest of the information, it's like, oh, okay. And then the bulletproof coffee thing, I'm having my coffee, do this tweak, putting the coconut oil in. You know what happened too, Necie, was I used to just have 1 cup of coffee.
Okay.
And because the second cup I would get the jitters. The second cup, I don't get the jitters now at all. And I look forward to that second cup because of the coconut oil, and the fat is that fuel. And so I can keep my fast going till 3, 4, 5. So like my eating window in the afternoon now is, and I can switch it up. Like if I've got some friends coming into town, hey, we want to take you out to dinner. Okay. So I eat the ribeye steak. I have my big salad. I don't have the dinner rolls that, I used to have 10 of those things because I love rolls and butter. I just don't have those.
Mhm.
And boom, I love it.
Yeah, the steak sounds good. Definitely the salad. Sometimes I just like to get a big bowl and just put in a lot of different greens and vegetables, and it just makes the body feel really good. And for those people who are watching it, you know what? Try it. You may just like it. Never be afraid to invest in your own healthcare, your own wellness.
Well, it's either that,
Right.
you're either investing in wellness or you're investing in your early funeral.
Yeah, oh wow. That's a real eye opener and ear opener to an
You
early
get to
grade.
choose. And not only the sad thing is, and if you're not investing in wellness and you're kind of on the fence, that fence will still create disease.
Yes. Yes.
Because we live in a disease. Let's manage the symptoms. Society, here, take this. I know it won't heal anything, but take it anyway, because you know what? I just don't know anything else.
Yeah, we have to, and we must take an active role in our own healthcare. We have to stop.
Who else is there?
Right, have to stop being passive. And I'm not one of those folks, Michael, that if I go to the doctor and the doctor says something that I don't agree with, I have no problem challenging that provider, because I need to understand what you're saying to me and how it pertains to me. And if I feel that that don't sound really right, or I need to learn more, you better believe I'm going to do my own homework, because I have found that you must be an empowered and informed patient.
Absolutely.
Don't take it at face value. There are too many people who go to the doctor and you'll say, okay, the doctor said this. And I'll say, okay, what questions did you ask? Did you engage? No, I just listened. I'm like, no, 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 no. The doctor is not always right.
Well, I found out, I've turned a lot of my friends and colleagues onto this, and they've all come back and just shaking their heads, to be honest, really, really PO'd, upset, angry, because for years, no butter, no salt, no eggs. You got to watch your cholesterol. It's all crapola. Quote me on it. Let me throw this out at you. I'm going to give you 4 foods. Here's the 4 foods.
Okay.
And we're going to rank these on what you think, what your audience thinks is the highest glycemic index. So here's number 1, a piece of whole wheat bread. Number 2, a banana. Number 3, ready?
Yep.
Snickers bar.
Okay.
And number 4, a tablespoon of pure white sugar. Of those 4 foods, bread, banana, Snickers bar, tablespoon of pure white sugar, which one has the highest glycemic index? And the scale on the index goes from 0 to 100, as you know.
Right. So looking at this, okay, you've got number 1, you said whole wheat bread, you got banana, you got a Snickers bar, and you got pure white sugar. I may be wrong, but I do know that even bananas have a lot of sugar, but it's supposed to be natural sugar. Okay. The whole wheat bread, the question was the sugar, right? Which one has the most sugar?
Which is the highest glycemic index, which is sugar.
Right. I'm going to say the highest. I could be wrong. Well, we know. I'm going to say it's between the whole wheat bread and I want to say Snickers, but banana.
You're close. You're right. You win the contest. With bread is at 71.
Mm-hmm.
The banana is at 54.
Mm-hmm.
The Snickers bar is at 55.
Okay.
Now think about that. I
Yeah.
stopped eating bananas. I had a banana every day. I don't eat bananas anymore. And the tablespoon of pure white sugar, Necie, 68.
Wow. Yeah.
So when you look at that bread that we're
Right.
all, oh, you have a piece of toast. For years I ate multi-grain organic bread.
Yep.
I loved it. And I thought, I'm being so good to my body. Then I realized when I start educating myself with Grain Brain, thank you, David Perlmutter, that what I'm doing is poisoning myself and driving my insulin up, driving my blood sugar up. And you're exactly right. We are in a pandemic in this country of sick care and managing symptoms.
True. But with this, what you just listed with these 4 foods, something else occurred to me. Okay, pure white sugar. I really should have said that was first, because I remember in some states, was it New York? I forgot what state it was, because they were trying to do this here in Illinois, to add a tax onto these beverages to get people's attention.
I remember that.
Yeah. Okay. And people had an absolute fit saying, you can't be doing that. I want to eat that. But when you think about Diet Coke, all right, and you think about regular Coke, just using these beverages as an example, some
Right.
people say, oh, it's diet, so that's going to be healthier for me to eat. And when you look at, those of you that are watching, next time you get that Coca-Cola, Pepsi, or whatever, even juices, for that fact, look at how much sugar that's in there, because a lot of that sugar is not just natural. A lot of that sugar is also from added stuff that they put in there. I was at the grocery store, Michael, and I looked at some apple juice, and they had some apple juice. It says that it was less sugar. And I'm like, let me look at this label again. Something just seems out of whack here. Well, they were not counting the sucralose in the stevia and the other stuff in there, right? So people will look at that and think, oh, this is going to be a better option for me, so I'm going to buy that. I'm like,
You're
no,
exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
And let me be very clear. Sugar, as I've learned, sugar is sugar. And I used to have that thing too. Oh, a banana is great because it's natural sugar. It's still
Right.
sugar to the body. So the Snickers bar and the banana, what are they? A point apiece? The body realizes it's exactly right. It's sugar.
Yeah. Yeah.
That wheat bread is sugar. That tablespoon of white sugar is sugar. And so it's killing our brain, it's killing our gut, it's trashing our liver.
Yeah. And don't they say whole grain bread, 100% whole grain bread?
Yeah. Yeah. But once you'll go down this rabbit hole like I have, Necie, Grain Brain. And I've watched a couple of videos now with David Perlmutter. My friend has been following him for years on PBS. He has several beautiful venues that he's on. But anyway, nice guy. I really like this guy. He's like Berg and Ekberg, very easy to understand. Here's a neurologist, a brain neurologist that's saying, keep it up, people. Keep it up, because you're going to be dead. Yeah. And if you're not dead, you're going to have Alzheimer's. And if you don't have Alzheimer's, you're going to have Parkinson's.
Yeah, you're going to have
something. If you need that sandwich, have at it.
Mm-hmm. That's so true. I've been following Dr. Perlmutter. In fact, I have some of his videos. And if I'm not mistaken, Perlmutter also has his own line, I think, of protein shakes with the pea protein.
I'm not sure. I could not speak to that.
Right. But
I
do
know
have-
that, yeah.
He was on WTTW doing a lot of talks. And so I followed him on there. It was it's very fascinating hearing everything that he had to say. Well, my friend, we're just about out of time. You got the last word. So go for it. What else you got?
Folks, you know, Necie and I have done this quite a few times over the years, and she always gives me the last word, which I appreciate. And I so appreciate your efforts, Necie. What I'm going to say again is, folks, look in the mirror and ask yourself, are you worth the time and investment in healing yourself and living in a most amazing life, a beautiful life full of wellness? That's what I'm going to leave you with. And I'll give you a little heads up. You are. We all are. We're all worth that healing investment. And I so appreciate this time this morning, Necie.
I appreciate it too. And Michael, how can they reach you?
307-277-1235. I'm old school. That's my phone number. Give me a holler or give me a text, and would love to visit with you.
Thank you for being with me. Come again. You know, I appreciate you. It's always.
I appreciate you.